I knew after we took down Tsukasa, or got him to our side, that Hyoga would still be a threat. But I had no idea how we were going to take him down. And this was pretty cool. Hey guys, welcome back to Everything Anime Podcast. I'm one of your host, Shinry, here with Everything Anime Podcast, talk about everything from anime, manga, video games, TV shows, and whatever relevant topic we find. Talking about today's video is on Dr. Stone. I'm not familiar with the chapters. I think it starts at 82, but wherever it ends, I'll title it. I'm calling this the last video I called it the end of the Stone Wars, but technically it wasn't the end because Hyoga and Hamura were still around. But this is the definitive end, and I don't know what arc is next. So we'll just probably call this the transition arc. But anyways, when the chapter opens up, Tsukasa's falling into a pit. He's falling into a pit of water, or like a stream of water, after Hyoga stabbed him from behind. And like, everybody's like shocked. They're like, oh my god, he just killed Tsukasa. He just killed his best friend, his best man. And Hyoga ain't done, because Senku goes to save Tsukasa to like stop him from falling, but Tsukasa basically just kicks Senku in the water. So he's like, okay, 2 for 2. Like, I ain't just taking down Tsukasa, I gotta take down Senku as well. Like, you're also my rival. And like, obviously he ain't gonna stick around because like the rest of the Kingdom of Science is there. So he just immediately dives into the water and like swims down the stream after them. And I was just like, what the fuck is happening? Because now we're thinking like Senku is gonna be alone with a weakened Tsukasa versus Hyoga, and we know like Senku has no combat skills, so like Senku would be obviously outmatched. So this situation would be crazy. So I was like, wondering where do we go from here? So after Yo gets them there, we learned that he planned this exact moment. Like, he planned to betray Tsukasa, but he also knew like he would get Senku and Tsukasa here alone because he tested this before. He ran into Yo at some point when Yo was in the middle of running away, and like after finding out Yo was alive, he like kicked him into the water. He followed him downstream. He's like, okay, this is where you're gonna end up, so this is where I can lure Senku and Tsukasa away from everybody else. And now, if you're wondering why he dragged them there, because I was like, it can't be to kill Senku, because I was like, you just took down Tsukasa. Killing Senku would not be that hard. Like, you could kill Senku like that. Well, of course, there was an ulterior motive. He brought Senku there to talk to him. He wanted Senku to team up with him. And obviously he did that so Tsukasa wouldn't get in the way, as well as like, make his own plans. So he offers Senku a deal. But whether Senku agrees or not, he doesn't care. He's like, if you don't agree with me, I'll just cut off your fingers one by one. And if you still don't agree with me, then I'll cut off your toes one by one. And like, basically I'm going to cut you down until you agree to fight me. I think it was his toes, because Dr. Stone's gonna need his fingers. He's like, I'll cut off your toes one by one, and then I'll start with your legs. Like, basically, I'll say use your brain and your hands. Other than that, or maybe just even your brains, because if he has his own hands, so as long as Senku is like sentient and can talk, he just like, I'll break all your fingers, I'll break all your hands, I'll cut off everything until you tell me exactly what I want to know. And so his plan is that Hyoga believes like they were all petrified 3,000 years ago because like this is the new what is that? What's that law called? Hold on. No, not Newton's law. The survival of the fittest law. Hold on one second. Darwin? Is that what it's called? The Darwin law? Anyways, like, so basically it's like whoever was petrified 3,000 years ago, if you did not like come back, then you were obviously too weak to survive in this new world. So he's like, this was made to control the Earth's population, like separate the strong from the weak and the smart from the dumb. Like, he's like, this was like he thinks it was like a government thing, like it was like to control the population, which is something rumored to even this day in our present day and age, like that people are trying to control the population by like playing with our food and things like that, going to send us to war. We're not gonna get into it, but like, it's a thing that people even think to this day. And it was an idea that Tsukasa held in his mind. That like, they want to control the Earth population by like keeping the rich and the young alive. And that's kind of what Hyoga's plan is. He's like, not really about the rich, but he's like keeping the young and the strong alive. He's like, I want to build a new world where like only the strong live. Like, kind of, it's basically what Tsukasa wanted in his stone world, except I guess Hyoga's want to go the further distance, whereas Tsukasa wasn't, because Tsukasa saved Chrome. And Tsukasa, kept Yuzu and Taiju alive, which, I mean, they're useful. Taiju definitely useful. But, like, it's weird because it's exactly what Tsukasa wanted, but I guess, like, Hyoga just saw him as, like, oh, you're not willing to go the distance that I'm willing to go, kind of thing. And Senku, however, has not changed his mind. He's like, I'm going to save everybody. Like, I'm not going to just save the weak and kill save the strong and kill the weak. I'm not gonna like save the poor people and kill the rich. Like, I'm saving everybody. Even if we go back to the way the world was, like, that's my plan. And he's like, there's no point in making a deal, which obviously Hyoga already knew. Senku would say that, but he's like, you're the greatest scientific mind, but I need you to create more nitrocytic acid, which is why I sealed out the miracle cave. Like, I'm going to decide who comes back. And if you want to save people, you're going to have to do it under my rule. And this is where he tells Senku, I'll cut off your fingers one by one. So he's like, it doesn't matter. Like, I've sealed out the miracle cave. No one's gonna have nitrocytic acid. You're the only one that can make it. And unless you agree, well, I'm not gonna let you choose otherwise. But unless you agree to work under me and save who I choose to save and live under me side by side as my tag team partner, then everybody's gonna die. And I was just like, okay, yeah, this is how he's fucking crazy. But Senku, he builds back to a corner because, like I said, he knows he can't take Hyoga on one-on-one. Like, only Tsukasa could, and Tsukasa is down. Or maybe not, because Senku notices, like, Tsukasa is, like, clinging on life. Like, Tsukasa was declared the strongest high schooler. And in this day and age, he's the strongest man alive. So, next to Hyoga. But, like, if Senku's like, if Tsukasa can still stand up, we can take him down. And Senku begins to play coy like Light did in Death Note whenever...
Now that I've come this far, I think it's about time. Yeah, I know I must look pretty bad in here, but this useless pride, I suppose I'll have to. Get rid of it. Huh? Got it. Later.
Note whenever Light, you know how, like, if anybody touches the Death Note, like, you can see the Shinigami, but Light, because he had got so close to L and L was close to exposing him, like, he had all his memories erased so he can play coy. Senku kind of does that. He just kind of pretends like he's in trouble. He's like, oh no, Hyoga, don't attack me, don't hurt me. And Hyoga, like, even falls for it. He's like, really? He's like, I never thought you would, like, come down to, like, this level. Like, I thought better of you. And then Senku throws, like, these rock things at him. And I thought it was weird, but then the rocks, like, evolve into, like, they were petrified birds that Senku had a little bit of nitrous acid in his bat. He pours some nitrous acid on them, and the birds come to life. And this is just for a distraction because Tsukasa stands back up and, like, tackles Hyoga in a really cool panel that I'm going to show off. And oh my god, like, I just love the sight of Tsukasa back up and fighting. Like, I was just like, this is so dope. So I was like, is Tsukasa gonna die in this battle? Because, like, he was already supposed to be mortally wounded, and we didn't know how he was going to be taken down. Like, we didn't know how the Stone Wars was going to end, but, like, that would have been a correct way to do it. But also because Senku's going to save everybody, like, if he saves Tsukasa any way possible, which he will by the end of this chapter we learn, or at the end of this arc that we learn, he will have the strongest human on his side. So it'll be interesting to who our next antagonist is going to be. Now, I said in my notes the ending panel was great because you get, like, this shot of, like, Senku being the brains and, like, Tsukasa being the bronze, or, like, without even speaking words to each other. They're like, hey, look, I'll be your arms if you be my brain. Like, basically like that. Like I'm willing to fight beside you. And so now we have the greatest tag team ever, the smartest man in the world, Senku, and the strongest man in the world, Tsukasa versus Hyoga. And I mean, it's just very much hype here. What follows is a very epic scene. While Tsukasa charges to the front, Senku kind of like runs around him, and kind of on the side, like laying down gunpowder, and then he ignites it to explode. It was pretty crazy, but I knew Senku wasn't going to try to kill Hyoga, but it's pretty cool. However, Hyoga diffuses the flames by like spinning his staff around and like creating like a whirlwind or like kind of like an air to blow all the smoke and fire away. And Senku comments that like he's a monster, and I had to admit it, but like the way Hyoga looks when he's like out of like his uniform, he looks ripped and like he looks like he could take on Tsukasa. But obviously, like him and Tsukasa were like the same level, or Tsukasa was like a little bit stronger than Hyoga. But yeah, he looks crazy ripped. No wonder Homura's obsessed with him. Senku then tells Hyoga he's going to defeat him with just the tip of his finger. Kind of like Tsunade from Naruto. You know, like when Tsunade said to Naruto, like, all one finger is all I need.
一本だ。お前なんてこれ一本で十分。
That's kind of what Senku says to Hyoga, so I was curious what that meant. But of course, Dr. Stone, being a science manga, obviously Senku had some kind of plan up his sleeve, and he does, and it's really cool. What follows is like some insane Super Saiyan levels of combat between Tsukasa and Hyoga. We don't really see it. It's not like they're literally moving at the speed of light, but the way these manga panels are drawn, or like the trail of speed they leave behind them, or the trail of wind, it looks really good. Like it looks amazing. Like, you can tell that that's what he was going for, like some Dragon Ball Z level of combat. And I'm gonna make sure we show that off too. Then Senku reveals that he has something on the tip of his finger. It's a miniature stun gun, which, I mean, I was very confused how he created that, but he explains it in a second. But we then learned he uses that to like basically like electrocute Hyoga, and that's what takes him down ultimately. And at one point, Senku got stabbed by Hyoga's spear. He took it on like full force, but beneath his shirt, he was wearing a magnesium battery, which absorbed the blow. Now, if you're wondering where Senku got that battery, this vest of batteries out of nowhere, it's because when Hyoga and Tsukasa showed up previously in the previous arc that we talked about, Hyoga had smashed that cell phone in front of everybody to show that like Gen was playing Lillian, and Senku had somehow at some point, I guess during that distraction, had used that and created like a vest battery, which was pretty cool. He mentions like later to Rinko, like, thank you for the training, because when Rinko had stabbed him full force with the spear, when Dr. Stone was showing off the paper spear, but it revealed like it was coated in like that rubber that's used on cars, or plastic that's used on cars, Senku was bracing himself like for a strong attack, and like Hyoga hit him with the kind of same force, so Senku was like kind of used to, like, he knew what kind of impact to expect. So kind of cool, even though I don't think Senku could ever have predicted that, but it was still kind of cool. Senku and Tsukasa then lay on the ground, and without speaking a word, they like smack hands, kind of like, and you know that's important because you got to remember, like, that's what Chrome and Senku did, like, to show respect to each other. And then Kaseki, in that one scene very early in the chapters we're reviewing, he was all like, hey, he was feeling kind of sad, and then he tells Senku like, hey, I just need one of those, and him and Senku do it, and so it's like it shows like a mutual sign of respect, like, I respect you, you respect me, and I can rely on you. So very cool. Like, Senku and Tsukasa don't speak a word, but they just, like, you know, clap hands and like, yeah, I got your back, you got mine. So very great. Now, you can't forget about Homura, who's in love with Hyoga, which for a second I did. I was like, oh, wait, I did forget. Like, when she comes out of nowhere, like, charging at him, I was like, oh, yeah, shit, we forgot about Homura. Because Senku is lying on the ground next to Tsukasa, like, they're probably weak and exhausted, and Hyoga's down, like, electrocuted. But thankfully, the rest of the Kingdom of Science shows up, and they cut her off, and Homura, obviously outnumbered, just kind of backs down, because Kohaku, Magma, Genko, Kenro, they all basically in front of her. It's like, and Kohaku can already like go back to back with her. And I love that Kohaku is the one that subdues her, because like I always expected, like, if this was like a major war arc, Kohaku and Homura would have went at it, like I said, as Ino and Sakura, as I mentioned before. Some other things in the panel. Oh yeah, I already mentioned that about he thanking Kenro. Also, Magma darkly says that we should finish off Homura and Hyoga, which, I mean, I could agree with him, but because they want to save everybody, obviously they're not going to kill them, but like they are the biggest threats to them. So instead, Senku's like, hey, we're just going to imprison them and we'll just keep them in jail, locked up, and then eventually when we bring back society back to normal, like they'll just go back to jail too. So I don't know if they're actually going to stay in prison. There might be another prison break arc with them too, but I am curious to see like what's going to happen with Homura and Hyoga in future chapters, because everybody else agrees like there's a no killing rule. And then there's kind of like a time skip, but Senku has transformed the Kingdom of Stone into like a bigger version of the Kingdom of Science, and like he does it like in a panel, but we know Senku, he's fast at making things, so almost immediately like it's transformed. And then afterwards, he begins to use a revival fluid to bring people back that Tsukasa tore to pieces. This is a really cool moment in the arc, because someone asked, like, what will happen if the ones that are broken aren't able to be revived because, like, you know, like there's a piece missing or it's been eroded too long. And Gen hysterically says darkly, like, oh, you know, they'll just become blood and guts and they'll spew out all their bodies and look all gross. That made me laugh despite how dark it is. But thankfully it does work. They bring back one random person, I think just like a random, no one in particular. And the first one revived is ironically a manga artist, because Senku had promised them like, hey, you know, I'm going to bring back like entertainment and video games and manga and like media, to consume, and you know what we had back in our time. So I thought that was really cool that like the manga artist was the first one ever brought back. And I'm wondering if this is a cameo from the manga artist himself, like if he drew himself into Dr. Stone, because that'd be kind of cool. Kind of like how like I forgot who did it. I think it was Attack on Titan, or maybe it was like not One Piece. Well, I think Oda did before, but you know, some manga artists like draw themselves into the series, which is kind of cool. I put myself in my own series before, so I kind of love that. Oh, also, Yo got captured. I forgot to mention that, and he tries to convince them that he's had a change of heart, which they openly accept. They're like, "Oh yeah, we'll accept you in here." And Yo's like, "What can I do to help you guys?" They're like, "Oh, you can help us put all these thousands of pieces of rock back together that are actual people, but like, you know, put all these people back together." And they're like, he's like, and it's like a mountain of rocks, by the way. And Yuju, Yuzu is behind him, and she's looking all sad. And she's like, yeah, these are all the people that you guys have been destroying. We're going to put them back together one by one, no matter how slow and tedious it takes. And I found that hilarious. Like, even though it's sad, but it's hilarious because it's obviously played for gags, but like they are bringing people back. So I just love that Yo is like, oh shit, I said I'd help, and now I'm stuck basically trying to put all these people back together for who knows how long. And also, another really great humanizing thing about Tsukasa is, even though he broke all the stone people and broke all the stone statue people, he remembers where every single person he destroyed is. Like, he, like, kind of in his memory, like, he didn't write them down or anything like that, but, like, beside him is, like, Taiju and the others. They're, like, writing down, like, what he says, and they're dedicating themselves to finding the people that Tsukasa broke. But just the fact that Tsukasa remembers where he buried those people that he destroyed is really humanizing. Like, despite he's been a villain this whole time, this antagonist up until like 80-something chapters, he's basically a good guy compared to Hyoga, who's way more evil than he is, obviously. As the war comes to an end, as promised, no one died in the Stone Wars. Senku was right. Even though I thought Tsukasa died in the previous chapters, because I thought he was done for. I thought Hyoga killed him because he protected his sister, and that would have been the end of Tsukasa, and then Hyoga would have taken over as the next antagonist, but that didn't happen. Now, Tsukasa is dying slowly. His wound's going to open up, but Dr. Stone creates like this complicated binding agent. I'm not a science major, so I'm not even going to try to get into and explain it, but I will show it on the panel. But basically, it'll like seal up your wounds, but like if you have any internal bleeding, or like if there's like, or if the wound just opens back up, he can't do anything about it because they don't have the medical science to save him, but they can prolong his life a little bit longer. But towards the end of the chapter, I'll just go ahead and say this now. Senku plans to repetrify Tsukasa he's going to figure out like what caused the phenomenon and then recreate it to like once again put Tsukasa under stone and then bring him back immediately with the revival fluid. Because if you are in that state, if you're broken, because as we know, Tsukasa's sister got revived and she's perfectly fine. But if you're in that state, anything healed or broken, anything broken or like about your body is automatically healed with that revival fluid, with that nitrous acid plus the rocks. Now, we do get a glimpse of Hyoga and Homura as prisoners. She's happily eating ramen next to Hyoga in a cell across from him. And she's like, oh, it could be worse. At least I'm with my man. Which I thought was pretty funny. I'm like, oh, she don't care. Hyoga taunts him, though, and he calls him weak for letting him live. He's like, I know you guys will never kill anybody. That's why this will fall at some point. Like, when you face a stronger opponent than me or stronger opponent than Tsukasa, like, you guys are going to die. But Kohaku argues that he failed to kill Tsukasa himself. Like, they're like, you didn't kill Tsukasa. Tsukasa's still alive, and Senku is going to save him. So, again, very, very great. Now, what happens from here, I don't know, but I thought this was a great cliffhanger because Senku is somehow going to recreate the phenomenon that caused this whole thing. So I can't wait to find out what that is or how he does it, and I can't wait to find out if we actually find out what was that phenomenon. And if we do find out what it was, what happens after that? Is there more? Because Dr. Stone's a 200-page manga, and we're only 80 chapters in, and we've already taken out one big bad. So curious to find out what happens next. This makes me want to watch Dr. Stone, the anime now. But I probably will watch up until this arc because I'm very interested in Dr. Stone right now. But even I don't know what could have caused this petrification. So I'm just gonna go with it and see what happens together with you guys. But I hope you guys enjoyed this review of these. I think it's like 5-6 chapters. I'll make sure I put the title, the chapter numbers in the title, obviously. And yeah, see you guys in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye. Hey guys, this video was sponsored by me, the author of the Shinry series, the Chronicles of Wayne, and Monsterverse. So I figured I'd do this outro a little bit different by showing you guys what you guys will be checking out. So, the Shinry series starts with Book 1, Shobu Samurai Project Aryoku. 10 years after the death of his parents, Shobu Samurai returns home seeking vengeance, but instead faces a choice to save his home from shadow creatures, blood beasts, and an organization once thought dead. Shinry's Shobu Samurai starts at $9.99. And if you love anime, manga, Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, Yu Yu Hakusho, Fairy Tail, Shaman King, Rave Master, Zatch Bell, anything like that, the Shinry series is definitely the series for you. You'll definitely want to check it out. The Sword of Light is probably the thickest one so far. And then these books are 2. This is Enter the Dread Zone Tournament. And the series original ending, Arado, the Legendary Conjuring Master. So, and I'll just show you guys some of the covers. Really proud of all of these. But I hope you guys check it out. If you don't like that, I also have the current published books for the Chronicles of Wayne, Love Be Damned, Cotton Candy, Full Moons, Fabled Lovers, A Cursed Virgin's Bite. If You Go Where Monsters Dance, Red Will Rain Over Your House. Love Be Damned. Now, the Chronicles of Wayne is about a geeky guy, or a nerdy guy in high school. His senior year, he has a crush on the hottest guy in school, because of course he does. He's only got one best friend, and her name is Barb. Well, the hottest guy in school turns out to be a werewolf. And to make the story more interesting, he bites Wayne and turns Wayne into the first ever wolfman in the last 10 years. And because of that, it was also a sacred law that wolfmen should never be created. I don't want to get into too much of the Chronicles of Wayne without spoiling it, but I can tell you it's very short. This one sells for $6.99, and Love Be Caged right after it. The ending of this trilogy, Love Be Liberated, comes out in October. So I'm going to definitely do a more full in-depth review of this one. But yeah, it's an LGBT fantasy fiction story about werewolves, vampires, white witches, a dark warlock, and, well, many, many more surprises to come. So if you guys like to read, I definitely recommend. These are all the books so far in the Shinry series, except for Shinry's Beginning. I do have that one, but it's just not here with me. But yeah, I appreciate a like, support, or just a review on Amazon. Either way, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great day.